Hello, welcome back to Epiphany, the podcast with yours truly, Bria Lewis. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I'm gonna get a theme song eventually, but right now we ain't doing no editing, baby. We just click and play, and we finna record, and we finna push out the content, and yes, we finna get it done. So, y'all, I am really excited to be mentally and emotionally naked about a hard topic today. So today's topic is called trauma gay. So I came up with this term. I actually should have Googled it because I don't know if the term exists already, but I call it trauma gay. Trauma gay is a gayness from a trauma that you had of your past, such as sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, or even bad relational experiences with the gender of the opposite of yours. And so I want to share my trauma. I want to be vulnerable. So that's what we're gonna do. And I just want to also say that I had to pray before hitting record for this episode, y'all, because it could definitely be a trigger warning. So please brace yourself. Know that I am delivering everything that I have to say with love and with grace, as much grace as that I have right now, because some stuff just got to be said without a sugarcoating. Okay, all right. So let's get into it. So, I'm going to share my story first. So, not my full life story, but a piece of my trauma growing up. So from ages 6 through 16, I experienced sexual assault, and how that showed up in my life caused me to kind of turn inward, bottle in. So everybody knows the vibrant Bria now, the let's go hit the dance floor Bria now. Everybody knows the confident Bria now, but it wasn't always that way. When after experiencing it for the first time, I didn't tell anybody. I actually didn't speak up about any of these encounters until I was 19 years old. Remember, it stopped at 16. So I spoke up about it at 19, and it crushed my parents. Pretty much, it crushed my parents because I had withheld it. They're like, why didn't you tell me sooner? And there's a lot of stories like that where people don't speak up until years later, or some people still harbor onto that all of their life. They never tell anybody because they feel like it's too late. Nobody will care. Nobody will believe me. And so I always knew that I would be believed in speaking up about it. But my problem was I didn't want to create a big shift in everyone around me. Like, I didn't want to change their lives with my truth, with my negative and heavy truth at that. So at 6 years old, I'm like, well, if I say something, then my dad may do something. He took him, so then my little brother won't grow up with a father, or my mom won't get to do life with her husband. Like, just the fear was instilled in me by the predator. So therefore I kept it inward. And I was actually taught, if somebody is touching you right there, you need to say something. But I just couldn't say something because of that gray line in, like, but I'm going to be the reason everybody's life changes if I speak up. So, and I also want to share that when people say that they are sexually assaulted, it doesn't always mean that they were forced to have sex directly. So for me, that wasn't my experience. My sexual assault looked like continuous coercion into sexual activities. It looked like being watched while I was bathing. It looked like waking up with hands on my private areas and kind of me jumping out of my sleep. It looked like being forced to touch sexually. It looked like me being touched sexually but never penetrated. It looked like a lot of flirting, inappropriate flirting, sexual flirtation. It looked like a lot, as you can imagine. I think you kind of get the picture. But we can't downplay how things like that are so common and shift people's subconscious, and that is what they attach themselves to their trauma, and ultimately it reflects in the decisions that they make in regards to dating and relationships, in regards to a sprinkle bit of everything, right? So after I spoke up at 19, I went to counseling and I went to a psychiatrist. So I began having hallucinations when I got to college. That was the first time I was on my own. And after I had those hallucinations, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to get help, because now I'm seeing the person who hurt me and they're not here. Like, this isn't healthy. Like, my brain is going back. It's taking me back to something I've already experienced. So I tried to press it down. This is before I spoke up, and I was just like, that was something that happened in the past. I'm just gonna move on. But whenever I got still with myself and I was alone in school, then yeah, those hallucinations started coming. I was having nightmares. So I was like, okay, it's time to speak up about this. I need help. And when I began my counseling journey, my counselor was great, but she was a teacher of that specific subject. And so when you have a teacher of a very specific subject, a lot of times they don't really go outside of those lines. And my trauma over those 10 years was so deeply rooted that it was at one point the counselor just said that, like, this is crazy. Like, when I really got into details of some of the stories. And she was like, I was looking at her like, dang, you think it's crazy? And this one, I'm like, I don't want to discredit her as a great counselor, but this is when I'm like, it's time for me to get another counselor, because you just said that my experience was crazy. So that means you probably never heard that this happens before. I don't know. So I found another counselor and went to the psychiatrist, was diagnosed with anxiety disorder and PTSD. And I began my journey of healing through those things. So 19 through 22, I stayed in counseling specifically for sexual assault and healing from it. And my last session, I felt like I had grown so much. I'm good. Like, I don't need to go anymore. So I took about a year break, and then afterwards I began going to counseling that was a little more casual, a little more for life, for a young adult, or I'm navigating these early 20-somethings, you just need somebody to talk to. So I began going to casual cognitive behavioral therapy, and I enjoyed it. I always looked forward to my sessions. I never looked at it like something is wrong with me. I just looked at it like, I got a friend that I can go and talk to, and she already signed a piece of paper that says she can't go and tell nobody my business. So I love that for me. So I always was very comfortable with going to therapy, and I always shared the message for other people to attend. Especially when you connect with the right counselor, like chef's kiss. So still in maintenance therapy is what I call it now. So I always stayed in maintenance therapy, and I realized I kind of stopped nurturing the sexual assault therapy, because I felt like I didn't need it anymore. I'm good. It's not showing up in my sex life. It's not showing up in my relational life. So I thought, very minimal triggers when it came to it. And I would probably have to be discussing it in order for me to feel triggered back then. So some of that experience led to sex with family members. Some of it led to, oh, this is getting hard. Okay. Some of it led to ultimately feeling like I was only wanted intimately by people who were supposed to either be my friend or people who were literally family. So how that translated into my adolescent years was like, I don't want to wear earrings. And I remember for from growing up, wearing jewelry was a representation of your feminine energy. And my mom was so big on it. Like, I would be leaving the house and she'd be like, girl, if I gotta tell you again, put them earrings on. You look like a little boy. And I just, in my head, I used to be like, this is before I tell her, like, in my head, I used to be like, that's the point. I want to look like a little boy. That way nobody in the family wants to do anything with me. And it wasn't until I expressed that in my adulthood, and I was like, that's why you had to really keep encouraging me to put jewelry on, because I feel like I'm looking pretty now and I'm enticing the behavior. And so I started accepting some of the blame, like, oh, because you look good, this is why this is happening. So I just tried to wear like clothes that weren't really expressive and colorful up until I got to a certain age where it actually flipped. It was like, I'm trying to show a little more. This all they think that I'm about anyway. So this what I'm put on, and it is so deeply rooted, and there are so many Black people specifically that have not only been sexually coerced, but also sexually assaulted, sexually harassed, sexually abused. It's like if you sit everybody in the room together and have everybody raise their hand if they have experienced that, like, I just feel like 90% of the room hand is like 90% of the room just gonna be. And I just can't ignore how that plays into gayness. I just can't. Now, it isn't everybody's story. It isn't everybody's situation of like, this is why I'm with the same gender. But this is mine. So this is why I have to share it, because I feel like it definitely resonates. And I feel like people definitely need to go back and reflect on their trauma, because like my daddy said, 9 chances out of 10, if something happened to you, like, and it's not in a like judgy way. It's just that like, I can see a lot of commonality in the brokenness of the gay community. So when you ask more questions, you do learn you was touched when you was little, huh? And it's usually at that age that it started from. For me, it started at 6, ended at 16. Like, that's 10 years of shit that I didn't want to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people have one encounter where they were touched without consent, and they think that like, they feel like they didn't download that at all. There's no reason to go back. Oh, I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to talk about it. There's nothing to talk about. I don't feel anything. But it all, like, the body keeps score. It's all downloads of that's a part of your life experience. Like, how much are we gonna suppress at the end of the day? And I even recall this playing out in advancing some of my, not sexual experiences, but my mind, how it shifted my mind to have that on, not the forefront, but I thought about it more, but I was also afraid of it, because I'm like, well, this is the space where you don't have control. Don't step over there, right? So, and I also recall being in those teenage years, and there was a sense of, I am not safe. So because I am not safe, it is the male energy that does not enrapture you. It is the male energy that is not welcoming, and it is the male energy that you cannot trust. So therefore, be careful when you stepping over there with male energy. And so I began watching porn, and I never watched men ever. It was always women with women, because when I watched women with women, it gave safe, because women are safe, men are not. So I don't want to see a man and a woman engaging, because 9 chances out of 10, how I'm thinking is that woman is being forced, that woman is uncomfortable. All of the emotions that I felt in the direct acts of the sexual assault, all of the acts that I did not consent to, is how I'm viewing the pornography. Like, this is what this woman is feeling right now. I don't want to watch her get hurt, but I want what I'm watching to be a pleasurable experience. So if I can take the unsafe piece out, now I can fixate and watch this. So, man, my entire life, I was like, I can't watch male with female, even though that's the norm, right? I gotta watch woman and woman because they both safe. So let me watch them come together. Y'all, I remember telling my dad, like, I got a girlfriend. And he was like, I know you lying. And it's like he let me coast for a little bit before he pretty much blew up. I thought it was a coast, but it really wasn't a coast. What it was him reaching out to every family member that he could think of to tell them that my daughter's gay and I need you to help me talk some sense into her so she ain't gay no more. And I remember going to work one day and he said, come by the house so me and mom can talk to you. And I'm like, Lord, he finna try to talk me out of being gay again. And I got over there, and that's essentially what the conversation was. But a piece that I remember so vividly was him saying, this is because of your trauma. You done been with me in all this time. Now you're going backwards. And when he spoke about it, he spoke with such judgment. He didn't really speak with grace and care for the trauma. So it was difficult for me to process his delivery. And that's why I had to say a prayer before doing this episode, because I'm like, I'm not trying to comfort nobody. I'm not trying to change nobody. I'm just simply sharing my story. So, yeah, breaking open with my dad was something that was necessary, something that wasn't received immediately, but something that I can reflect on now and be like, I understand what you was trying to say. You said it very poorly, but I get it. Because at the end of the day, it's just that he knew his daughter, you know, and while he didn't like it, he still let me live it because it was my choice. But his main thing was like, something happened to her too. And I was like, you're lying. You don't know what it is that you're talking about. I know her very well, and this has never been a thing. And I remember going home that night and being like, I just had the most traumatic conversation with my dad. It was very uncomfortable. I mean, he got in there. He was like, this and this do not go together. And I'm like, first of all, you're thinking too deeply in it. You don't have any business thinking about my sex life anyhow. So, but I remember that made me go and ask questions like, is this story true for you too? Because I'm so busy trying to rebuttal my dad. Like, no, you're wrong. But after that conversation, I realized I would put a percentage of about 98%, and I know that's high, but 98% of people that have trauma from their childhood, whether it be sexual assault, sexual harassment, or sexual abuse, are gay because they subconsciously, something shifted. And a lot of it is like just not being safe emotionally, not being safe physically, not even being safe in sharing or expression. Like, it causes something. Trauma presents differently for everybody. It looks different because we transmute differently, we deflect differently, we even share differently. So it's not to say that, like, oh, if they were sexually assaulted in the past, then they're gonna be gay. It's not like that. Like I said earlier, that doesn't mean that that is that person's trauma if they choose to date the same gender. But 9 chances out of 10. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think my dad was on point with this one, and it definitely showed up in my life. And it took so much to realize this is not pure love. This is once again, some gay people really it might be pure love. I don't know. I'm talking about my stuff. Some of it is not pure love, though. It is genuine attachment. It is a trauma bond. It's a trauma bond and a trauma bind, because that's damage mentally on both parties, from both parties. Yeah. So I also feel like it has shown up if you have trauma. Gay happens too. If you have relationship trauma, you can not be touched when you was younger. You could not been inflicted by family or any of that, and you turn 19, you start dating somebody, and they jack you up so much to the point where you like, I'm done with the whole gender, child. The whole gender is to the trash. Because this could be for guys and women. Like, you could, like, my heart got broke so bad, I just had to cancel all the men. I had to cancel all the women. Like, some people really shift in that way. Like, I have a friend who she's like, I'm not dating men no more. I'm dating women only. So sorry to tell you. But when she reflects on her trauma, she like, that dude had a baby on me. That messed me up. That messed all my screws up. I felt like every guy after that was going to do that. So, moral of the story presents itself in different ways. My friends and a lot of my family pretty much started asking me after getting in a relationship with a female, like, so, like, do you identify as bisexual because you had a boyfriend first? Do you identify as gay? Do you identify as lesbian? And I was like, child, I can't identify. Because if I'm being transparent, I'm a little thrown off that this even was in the mix for me. But I'm here and I feel okay. So I never ended up putting a label on it. And I just let it coast instead of trying to identify what it was. But what it was a trauma bond. A trauma bind and the trauma bond. Yeah. So I think that the level of masculinity as well that women require, that women need, a lot of young men today are a little more on the feminine side, and I feel like that can cause women to kind of open up the pool too. Like, you'll hear some young women, they won't necessarily say they're bisexual, but they'll be like, I mean, I would date a female. I mean, because why not? Because it's giving like that similar energy from some of the young men today. It's like a lot of our young men are feminine, more feminine than masculine. So it's like, might as well give me somebody to scissor with. But if you truly know you want to operate in your divine feminine and you know that you need a divine masculine, then you create friction in the space of dating the same gender, because what you're doing is you're requiring them to shift to what it is that you need, and they are probably trying to find and embrace their feminine energy, but they need to be masculine with you. They need to be more masculine to upkeep the standards that you have for yourself. But ultimately, us changing ourselves is still causing the masking, it's still causing the suppression of emotions. And so for that, it's like, don't you realize when you really truly heal, like women, when you really truly heal, you become more feminine, more soft, more your higher self. And that is kind of difficult to balance with when you need the opposite of what you put out. Like, I hope I'm delivering this well, y'all. This is like, my brain is just turning, so I'm doing the best I can. So yeah, I think when we stop trying to manipulate the energy that people possess, then we'll have better connectivity. Even if you feel like, oh, well, a man isn't what's best for me, oh, a woman isn't what's best for me. At the end of the day, it's just about being you and uncovering all of the trauma so your higher self can be present to receive someone in full for who they are, and not trying to shift them. And I think a lot of gay people just don't, it's like, you don't want to see your trauma. You don't want to see how deeply you were hurt. And for that, you just be like, well, nobody understands me. Nobody gets me to the core. Like, people are confused about me. No, you're confused about you because you're not letting you truly surface. Because if you were born very feminine and none of your feminine energy was ever welcome, that's going to translate in your dating life. That's going to translate in your friendships. And whether you want to sugarcoat that or fix it to whatever, how it sound better for the ears, do your do. But Bria is here to tell you, no, it's a no. You're not going to be able to sustain that for life. And so I just see so many people in the gay community at war with themselves on a consistent basis because they not fully them. You know, at your core, your soul is feminine energy. You know, at your core and your soul is masculine energy. And you keep trying to manipulate it to be the opposite of what it is. And so your soul is hurt. You don't need self-care. You need soul care, because you keep trying to change your soul when your soul is just whatever it is. That's why you can't heal it. You can't heal what you keep trying to scarf down and cover up and put the blanket up. You just can't heal that. So that's the first part. Like, what hurt me? What hurt my feelings? What still hurts my feelings this day? And then, child, a lot of gay people too, they take pride in not crying. Like, they be like, yeah, I ain't that emotional. Somebody please tell me what is wrong with watering your plant, because that's all crying is. Some of y'all need to water y'all plant because it's dying. And only the people that's closest to you can see it dying. All of the closeness with the friendships, it's an attachment because you're all trauma bonding. You look at the whole friend group, all of the friend group alcoholics, all of the friend group can't stop smoking weed, all of the friend group have a sex addiction. The whole friends group or everybody up in the family got anger issues, got depression, got anxiety, got, it's unhealed trauma. It's unhealed trauma. My epiphany. My epiphany to, child, like, it's close the episode is, while I don't identify with gayness or by being bisexual, I had an experience of dating a woman because the person that I chose to be with cuddled my trauma. Their aura said, your trauma is okay to not deal with. Yeah. And what my choice is now is to not be quiet about it, to not keep pushing it under, because this is how it surfaced for me, and I can see this is how it has surfaced for so many people, and I can just see the brokenness. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't want to be judged, and I don't want to judge other people, but a lot of that is brokenness. So if you are an exception from this story, congratulations, all of my love and support. But for most of the people that I know, including myself, I know myself. Go back to the sexual assault counseling, because most stuff then surfaced, and that's okay. You know, it's perfectly fine. It's life. And my message to the community that I was recently a part of, the gay community, is to choose to heal, because a lot of y'all ass not gay. So yeah, I've healed from the sexual assault directly. I don't have the PTSD, the hallucinations, the anxiety disorder anymore. But what I have not healed from is all of those downloads that I got in my experience of my sexual assault. I'm still like, girl, don't watch no girl on girl nothing. It's programming. We're naive to the level of programming. And so for that, I am in a season of cleansing. I am in a season of being fully vulnerable, open, and transparent about it. And there is no going back. Yeah. Yeah, that's the episode, y'all. It wasn't as hard as I thought, so I'm glad I got it done. I hope that the message does not feel like such a target to people. That's what I was afraid of. I'm like, people gonna feel like I'm shooting them down. Then they gonna feel like I'm a hypocrite, because girl, you just had a girlfriend. Like, stop playing. Like, duh. But y'all, come on. We gotta be real. We gotta be real here. And I took accountability. I want y'all to take accountability. Because it's yeah. My daddy was right. That's all I got for today. Once again, y'all make sure y'all like, subscribe, share this with somebody who needs it. I'm just gonna continue to share my journey with you all, and I'm just gonna be real. Yeah, so that closes for episode 2, season 1. We're gonna keep going, new episodes every week, and I will see you guys soon. Love y'all. Bye.